This is the bottom line. HotelStaff TV.
So Jim Dinardo with HotelStaff TV with Mike Coscetta from Mews. We're both here at the Asian American Hotel Owners Association Convention, AAHOA 2026. He graced us with an opportunity to have a little discussion with him to talk about his business specifically, and even more importantly, a little bit about himself, because we wanted to get to know him better. Mike, hello.
Thanks, Jim. Really
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Thanks for
Great to be
coming
here.
out. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. So at the Asian American Hotel Owners Association, Mews is sponsoring quite a bit of the event. So actually this evening they are doing the, what is the name of the event?
Red, white, and blue.
Red, white,
Liberty,
and blue.
independence, and freedom, I think.
Well, we are from the Philadelphia area here,
Perfect.
so we happen to be locals. The 250th anniversary of the United States is a big thing here. The celebrations are going to be outrageous this year. So it's great for you to come out.
Great to be here.
So let's unpack a little bit. You know what I mean? We talked a little bit about, we had an opportunity to speak for just a couple minutes at the show. Thank you for coming out and visiting us.
My
That
pleasure.
was fantastic. I'm interested a little bit first about how we've both been on a long journey to get to this point right here. So before we get started, I mean, what would be a successful evolution for you here in terms of, if we were going to cover anything specifically, if we wanted to make sure we got to something,
Yeah.
what would be something that you would wish that we would cover?
I think this event for us at Mews is a perfect confluence of a few different topics. So one, this is the founding of the country was done here 250 years ago. The event we're at, AAHOACON, right? Probably the epitome of the American dream, the epitome of entrepreneurship, the epitome of the opportunity in America to build a business from scratch, to build a life, to build a dream. And that's what the AAHOA organization is all about. They've selected us as the only PMS partner, property management system partner, to be the exclusive partner of the entire AAHOA organization. And that means for their members, they get to see and have Mews as their best option, right, for a technology solution to power that dream, right, to power the operation, to navigate a very crazy, very turbulent, very constantly changing time for a hotel operator and owner today. So I would just love at the end of this event for all of us to look back and say, wow, what a great decision they made choosing Mews. And for us, this is an incredible partnership that we hope goes many years into the future. Maybe not 250 like the country, but
it would be
it's
a
a great
wonderful
place
thing,
to celebrate.
wouldn't it?
It'd be a wonderful thing. Neither of us, I think, will be here to celebrate it. Although if Elon has his way, maybe we will.
Hey, come
We'll
on, we
find
can
a
do a
way.
little cryogenics, right?
Listen, it's
Come on,
that
man.
time. I'm all into wellness. May as well.
Well, so let's talk about the journey.
Yeah.
So, like we said before, there was a lot of stops, probably a lot of challenges that we faced before we got to this point to be able to sit down and have this conversation. So let's talk a little bit about how you arrived here, your background, and how you ended up with Mews.
Yeah.
So your journey wasn't always, as I recall from reading a little bit of your bio, from hospitality, but rather in the technology sector. So
That's right.
How did we get here, my friend?
Yeah, it's funny. I was speaking to a colleague, a former colleague, after I joined Mews, and he said, you know, if there were a job that could be written perfectly for you, it may be this one, and I have no idea how, by the grace of God, you found that role. And it comes from a few different places. You're right. Number one, I do not come from hospitality. Number two, I do come from technology. This is a technology business. It's a technology product, but this is a human industry. And I love to travel. And I've loved to travel since I'm a very young person and have traveled to 68 countries and millions and millions and millions of miles. And I'm like, wow, what a perfect confluence for me of something I know, technology, especially financial technology, which is a lot of what we built into the system, and travel, and a place I love. So putting those two things together, you kind of bring out a little bit more of the humanity of the industry. To me, this is not just a job. It actually truly is really fun. And my journey, you know, prior to Mews, I was at a blockchain company called Paxos, right? So how do you transform the financial world, right, in a compliant way, in a futuristic way, but do it in a way that benefits everyone? Prior to that, I was at Compass, what's now the largest real estate brokerage in the world.
Right.
So how do you empower independent contractors, independent business owners to grow a business, to scale a business? At Mews today, we're doing something very similar. Just those independent businesses are hotel owners. And prior to that, I was at Square, you know, now called Block. And, you know, how do you democratize payment processing and lending and, you know, access to data and marketing for the millions and millions of small businesses in the world, but do it in a way that benefits them, benefits their customers. And every day at Muse, I think about the same thing. It's not just how do we sell a product to a hotel. If the product doesn't benefit them, help them make more money, help them run a better operation, if it doesn't help their guests have a better experience, nothing works. So it's a full circle to bring me here, but it feels very aligned with who I am, what I love, and what I think I could add value for.
So let's unpack a little bit as we discussed before we got started, there are people from all different areas and walks of life and all different strata in the hospitality industry that may or may not be seeing the show. So I always like to unpack things first from a basic level. So if you were going to explain Muse
Yeah.
as a company to a 8-year-old, for example, let's start there. How would you describe what you do to somebody at that level? And then
Yeah.
we can build on that.
Is this an 8-year-old who knows AI, or an 8-year-old from when maybe I
This
was
is
8?
actually, in today's day and age, it may be an 8-year-old
I
that
would not be
understands AI.
surprised. I would not be
Right.
surprised. Watching my nieces and nephews, I certainly would not be surprised. What is Muse? Okay, in essence, we're a property management system. So if you're a hotel owner, hotel operator, manager, front desk person, whoever, Muse is the software you would use to operate as the central nervous system of your hotel operation.
Right.
Whether you're a one location, whether you're 1,000 locations, whether you're 10 rooms, 500 rooms, 5,000 rooms, whether you're a resort, a glamping site, an apartment hotel, an Airbnb, you name it, we can support that operation. Now, when you think about an operation, what does the software need to do? Even the simplest hotel is a very complex operation. They have guests coming in and out. They have a 24/7 business. They probably have food and beverage. If not, they have access to food and beverage. They may have meeting spaces. They may have pool. They may have cabanas they rent. They may have parking. They may have long stay, short stay. They may have a spa. They may have all these different things. In essence, Muse helps them do all of that in a very simple, very intuitive, very easy to use software. More than that, we help them manage their pricing. So how do you price a room using AI, using data? How do they operate all of those different spaces? And again, a really simple, easy to use place without having to hire 100 people to necessarily operate that. How do they process the payment? So how do they accept the credit card payment? How do they take a prepaid reservation? How do we make sure they have access to cash flow as a result of that? Everything happens within Muse, and they can get up and running in a day or two. It's an incredibly simple system to use, very easy to operate, very easy to learn, and more critically, very easy to maintain and continue to operate as you grow as a hotel.
So question, since you brought up the topic of artificial intelligence and AI, agentics is the big thing right now. One thought is, how much of a change has there been to your software and your systems with the advent of more robust AI interfaces?
Yeah.
And how has that changed Muse and the way you operate?
Yeah. So for AI, we put our money where our mouth was last year. We actually bought a company, an AI company in the United States called DataChat. And with that came 24 of the most brilliant people you can ever imagine, who all they've ever done is build AI native applications, mostly with direct customer interface. So things like live chat, guest interaction, other modules that really make sense for the hospitality industry. What hotel owners continually complain about constantly in their business is the amount of time their staff is wasting doing manual operation, boring operations, repetitive operations, sometimes very risky operations, where AI, can come in and help streamline all of that. Not to no longer have the employee, but to have the employee do what a hospitality employee wants to do: engage with guests, make a guest experience that much better, help the business grow, help interact with a problem, solve a problem, as opposed to reconciling ledgers, reconciling accounting forms, doing something that is an old relic of the industry called night audit. That goes away. All of that can be automated. And it's not to remove the person, it's actually to allow the person to do the hospitality part of their job. So AI is embedded not just in the core application of Muse, but in many of the future applications that we're going to announce this year. We have many of them coming. I can't share too much today, but you will see starting next month, starting in May, in June, in August, in October, you will see many of our AI native applications unveiled to the market.
So if we were going to send a message to hospitality operators, whether it be ownership, management companies, et cetera, and I gave you 30 seconds to basically to say something to them about your operation and what you can offer, what would you say to them now?
I would simplify it into three concepts. Number one, we can help any hotel owner and operator make more money per square foot. Whatever
Okay.
their operation is, we can help them drive more revenue, whether through monetizing spaces, better pricing, more direct bookings. We can help them there. The second is we can help them decrease their operating costs per square foot or per hour or per day, however they want to measure it. We can do that through automating a lot of the parts of the process that typically are manual, by being able to do auto reconciliation, by attaching guest data to the profile in a really intuitive way. We have a product called the Smart Tip to allow that. And the third thing is to help the business operate in an intelligent way so that it can have all the data, all the insights it needs to, again, make any decision, to make an investment decision, to send that to an underwriter to get a loan, to be able to know when to hire seasonal staff, to know how to price everything. That's a critical element that we could do in a nutshell.
Now, let's throw all the business out the window for 2 minutes. What are you passionate about?
Oh, one is travel. I really love travel. It may sound trite, but that's the
Not at
industry
all.
I'm in. And again, if I could design a job, it's actually pretty close. Love travel. Love to spend time in new places.
Where's a core place that you prefer to spend your time?
Oh, outside of the U.S., Italy.
Yeah,
It's
Italy.
yeah.
Me too.
I'm Italian,
Me
so
too.
I can't
Me
not.
Me too. My wife and I just did a whole tour through Italy year before last,
Yeah.
and we did Rome, Venice, Milan, Bellagio. It was a
So you
whirlwind.
did Lake
And
Como. You did some
oh gosh,
stunning parts.
so beautiful,
Yeah.
so beautiful. Matter of fact, I spend quite a bit of time looking at real estate in
Oh, me
Tuscany.
too. Me too. It's tempting.
Yeah, you know, exactly, exactly. I was like, let's just get us a little olive farm
That's right.
somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good to go.
You'll
I'll
never
make
go
my own
hungry.
balsamic, right? You know, my wife's Italian too. You know, so I totally dig that.
Yeah.
So,
Food and wine, another one. Can't
oh,
not.
absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. So, now, family man.
I'm not married, but I've 7 nieces and nephews, a gigantic
I heard you
Italian
mention the
family.
nieces and nephews
Yeah.
because of the AI piece.
Yeah.
So, wow, this has been fantastic, and I learned a lot of stuff. Let me ask one question, and I'm going to kind of put you on the spot, but not in a way that I think is bad. So, we've got an opportunity to build something different here. So, we're having conversations, and one of the things I had mentioned to your team beforehand was what we would like to do, if at all possible, is to create a simple question, maybe not too complex, for the next person that sits in the chair, right? Something that that we could ask them. If I put you on the spot and said, fire off a question to the next person that sits in the chair, just so we can keep it rolling, is there anything that comes to mind for you?
There was something that came up today where I'd say, what's an assumption the industry has that you think will be completely out the window in a year or two? What's a trend in the industry that you think actually will disappear? And I've seen a couple of places today where I'm like, oh, wow, this is new. And you start to see the momentum around some of these ideas.
Right.
A lot of it does have to do with automation, from what I guess, right? I think a lot of people will talk about travel trends, right, in general, right? Things that may persist, things that may come very different, right, out of nowhere, right? You never know what the world brings. But it's like, what's an assumption or what's a pattern that you think will no longer be happening or around in a year or two?
Is there something that you see on the horizon, a disruption that you think could potentially be coming? Are there any things that you see? I mean, we share imperfect
Yeah.
information, my friend,
Yeah.
right? And I think everybody out there is trying to get their their finger on the pulse of what comes next. What do you see in terms of potential trends for disruption for what comes next for not only just
Yeah.
technology but the intelligence and also in your industry? Is there anything that you see on the horizon that could be disruptive?
I think, again, it may sound almost trite to say AI again, but I don't think we have any clue how impactful and disruptive AI can be to the crafting and the planning of travel, and then the execution of travel. And anywhere there's a personal agent today, over time there may be a digital agent. And then that personal agent can go do the really cool stuff that today technology just cannot do. Planning that lifetime, trip of a lifetime around Italy is something that I don't think an AI bot's going to be able to put all that together
Right.
today. But I think over time that becomes an asset to travel planners, to travel providers, to distribution partners within travel. I think you have macro disruptions, right? The Dubai airport's the third busiest airport and second busiest airport in the world. Not for the last 2 months, right? So all of a sudden, Where are the investments coming in and out of the Middle East? What are the disruptions that change travel patterns? We're already seeing intra-Europe travel expand for the summer, right? We have very good data. We're seeing some cancellations in some regions and excess new bookings in other regions, right? As a result, does the travel, preference stack change in terms of where people go? COVID, I think, really transformed, the way people travel and even the desire to travel that was not there. There was a step function increase during COVID of the number of passport holders in the United States of America, for example, right? Because people who were told they couldn't travel all of a sudden couldn't wait to travel. And you've seen an explosion of that.
So let's unpack that a little bit more. One of the things that that comes to mind, that bubbles up for me, is that because you've got an opportunity to oversight the data, you're probably seeing trends.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any trends that you're seeing now that, indicate changes in the industry that other people might see specifically? And what would those be based on the data that you say?
I think we have 15,000 hotels running on Mews today. And I don't know how many tens of millions of guests have stayed through those hotels. So we have both forward-looking data, which is very cool to see, but also we have historical data, so you can start to build the patterns and build the trends. There are two things we've noticed even in the short term. Number one, the amount of intra-United States travel happening by Americans this year, right, has grown tremendously. It's like there are less Canadians coming to the US for sure, and Americans seem to have filled that gap, almost instantly, right? Very interesting to see that. Second, the tolerance level of the traveler to pay very high prices for hotel rooms. The average room rate in the United States and in the world, especially Europe, has gone up, crazy percentages in the past few years.
Right.
Obviously, hotel owners are benefiting, but the guests seem to have a very high tolerance to pay these numbers. Travel seems to be a really core part, right, of how people live, how they want to live, and they're now protecting that budget to a level that I don't think people had seen pre-COVID, for example.
So with regards to that, from a data perspective, if you could pick one key indicator that would be the canary in the coal mine for the ownership, whether it's the C-suite or the ownership, with regards to the data that impacts their business the most, if there was one thing specifically that you were going to say, like, this is the one key indicator, what would you pick?
The percent occupancy at a certain time in advance. So percent occupancy 30 days in advance, 90 days, a year in advance. Most hotels don't open up a booking window right beyond that, but that obviously gives a leading indicator as to what's coming your way. And that level of occupancy, gives you some indicator of like how healthy your business will be moving forward. Now, behind that typically is one toggle that you could play with, which is the room rate. So having good tech, good data, good insights that help automate even the room pricing so that you can capture whatever that market demand is, again, a month out, 6 months out. And there are key events throughout the year that pop up all the time that tend to drive a lot of these spikes in demand. But to me, if I'm a hotel owner specifically, the most important thing I'm looking at is how many of my rooms are booked today, tomorrow, the next day, a month, a year, etc., into the future. And because that to me is the health of my business.
So and one of the things that we had talked about was that our demographic, our watching demographic, is not only just hotel executives, but also, and we try and cater for the worker and for the low-level people that will eventually, we believe, cultivate themselves to become, or be cultivated to become, executives or leadership. So how do the technologies that you currently employ affect somebody who's in the mid-range management or even low-level management or even the worker? How do those things affect, or do they affect, the quality of life of those individuals, and how?
That's a critical, affecting the quality of life of the user of the product is as critical to us as empowering the hotel to provide a great guest experience. Because the hotel user, whether that's a housekeeper who needs to be able to flip rooms very efficiently and compliantly, right? How do they do that? How do they track that? That matters a lot. They can do that in our system very easily. The food and beverage manager or operator who needs to take an order or place a catering order or do a room service order, and that has to all be tracked and reconciled back. Their job is so much more simplified. The front desk agent, where our Smart Tip product makes it so easy to know this is the same Jim that's been here every year, the same month, and by the way, he loves red wine. and here are the wines that he ordered last, and maybe put one in the room before he even checks in. Making the job easier is really critical, not just to make the employee happy, but to allow them to be more productive, to focus on the guest, to not waste their time doing a lot of these manual operations. And I will say, in the past, the most challenging user we had to deal with was the finance user, the accountant, the auditor, the GM, whoever was touching the money, because that's always been one of the hardest and most painful elements of a hotel operation. Now, with our product, it's automated, it's transparent, it's easy, and it can be done in such a simple way that people are not wasting their day anymore, again, just compiling numbers and throwing them into a spreadsheet.
Now, it sounds like the system plugs together in modules, so to speak. So let's say, for example, a hotel owner has a module that handles the food and beverage side,
Yep.
from a module that handles housekeeping, from a module that handles the finance side. Is that plug and play, or is that an integrated? How does that work for the hotel owner?
All of the above. So it's an all-in-one product. If they want everything provided by Muse, we have everything they need provided by Muse. It's all obviously fully integrated, single UI, single login, single experience, super easy. And they can manage who gets access to what, and that's very, very easy. If they love our system, but for some reason they have their favorite food and beverage partner, or their favorite point of sale, or their favorite, spa management software, and they can't wait to use that, we have an open API. So they could plug that directly into our system. Our system still remains the system of record for everything in that hotel. But if they want their preferred spa management, if they want their preferred parking lot management product, if they have a hardware partner who they love and they want to make sure that that data can integrate into our CRM, easy. We can do that as well.
Wow. Wow. Well, I see how the system could have a pretty substantial impact, more than a very substantial impact to the operations of a hotel. What other areas do you see? Other areas where you intend to expand from where you're at right now? Is that something that we can talk about, or do we have to keep that close to the vest?
We'll always keep the real details close to the vest until they're public. However, there are some pretty obvious parts of the guest experience that we don't do today that we would love to do more of. And again, we'll always be able to offer a first party opportunity, or to be able to have an ecosystem of partners who can provide those experiences within the guest journey. For example, we are not going to sell flowers to you if you want to buy them for your wife for your anniversary. However, in our guest check-in, maybe you have the opportunity to order flowers through a partner for your wife for a special occasion. Maybe you want to have a very, very specific set of data analyzed by a third party that specializes in whatever that data set is. That's probably not our business. However, if you want to export the data through our API to that partner, who then does consulting or advisory for you on your operation, we can do that. We're probably not going to lend you the money if you want to open your next location. However, given all your data are in our system and all the finances are in our system, if you want to make it super easy for an underwriter to be able to look at your data to provide you a loan faster, we can do that too. So there are many things over time that we'll look to do, right? Again, either directly or indirectly. And we love ideas from hotels and owners and managers of what else we can do to help them, because that's where a roadmap comes from. A roadmap doesn't come from us, waking up in the morning with an epiphany. It comes from customer feedback, from industry trends, as well as always wanting to be ahead of where the technology is. And that's where we put our focuses today.
Awesome. Now, if somebody wanted to communicate with you or your team directly about the things that we talked about, how would they go about doing that?
Easiest way, go right onto muse.com, submit an inquiry that will come directly to a human being who will sit there and figure out how to help you either investigate Muse, demo Muse, and hopefully buy Muse and onboard to Muse. But all of our APIs are open as well. So for any partners out there, they're all right on our website, open documentation. And if you're a hotel owner and operator today and you want a real demo of Muse, submit an inquiry and we will get back to you. Muse.com, MEWS. You're gonna find it, right?
It's
not
under there.
MUSE, right? So
It's up there.
MEWS.
If you're looking for them, they're all big and pink and easy to find.
You can't miss
If you
it.
see somebody in a pink shirt, chase them down. That's most likely somebody from Muse.
It could be pink, it could be yellow, it depends on the event, but at AAHOACON specifically, you can't miss this.
Mike, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you,
I
Jim.
appreciate that. So this is one of our first episodes of the Bottom Line series on HotelStaff TV. Conversations, deeper conversations with executives that we like, trust, and want to get to know better. We're hopeful that this information is valuable. We are going to leave links in the description below not only on LinkedIn, but also on YouTube and the other channels. And then hopefully you'll distribute it as well to your
Absolutely.
organization and people
Thank
as
you.
well. So thank you so much for coming
Appreciate it.
out. This was fantastic. Hopefully this was valuable to you. I think it's valuable to us, and I think it's certainly valuable to the industry at large. So
Very appreciative of the time. So hopefully your audience finds the same value. So thank you
awesome.
again.
Mike,
Appreciate it.
thank you so much, my friend.
My pleasure.
Appreciate you.
Good.
Awesome.
In every decision, there's a story. From operators to owners to industry leaders, clarity matters. This is the bottom line. HotelStaff TV, insight that drives performance.
I'm Jim Dinardo. We're at AAHOACON 2026 at HotelStaff TV. I'm here with Ben Ryan. Ben is from Nova Technology.
We have the cleaning robot in some corporate offices, a couple universities, a couple malls in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
But we're trying to get into the hospital sector as well.
Okay.
So,
Now these do hard flooring, hard surfaces, carpets.
yeah, these will do your vacuuming, sweeping, mopping, and squeegeeing in all one pass. They'll
Okay.
do any hard floor surface.